All right, let's pull back the curtain on the three core concepts that pretty much run every AI you've ever used: tokens, context, and parameters. Seriously, getting a handle on these is the difference between being a casual user and becoming a real power user. So let's dive right in. You know that feeling, right? You're in a super long chat with an AI, and then suddenly, poof, it completely forgets what you were talking about 5 minutes ago. Or maybe you've used an AI tool for a project only to get a bill that makes your jaw drop. Well, those aren't just random glitches. They're actually direct side effects of the very things we're about to break down. And here's the thing. Tokens, context, and parameters, they aren't just nerdy jargon. You should think of them as the fundamental laws of physics that control how these AI models work. They dictate what the AI can do, how much it costs, and what its limits are. Once you get these, you've basically got the instruction manual for all of modern AI. Okay, first up, let's talk about the AI's currency, tokens. Every single thing you do with an AI, every single cost you rack up, it all starts right here. If you want to understand that AI bill, you have got to understand tokens. So what in the world is a token? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like a Lego brick for language. See, an AI doesn't see words or sentences like we do. It breaks everything down into these little pieces, these tokens. Sometimes a token is a whole word, like the or cat, but more often a longer word, like unbelievable, gets split into chunks, like un, believe, and able. Now, here's a super practical rule of thumb you can use every day. In English, one token is about 3/4 of a word. So if you see something costs, say, 100 tokens, you can guess that's roughly 75 words. This little bit of math is incredibly helpful for estimating how much you're going to spend before you even press enter. And now we get to the part that really matters: how this all affects your wallet. It's really, really simple. Tokens equal money. Every time you use an AI through what's called an API, you are paying for the number of tokens you send in and the number of tokens you get back. Take a look at this. This chart shows you how much it costs to process 1 million tokens on different models. And the differences are, well, they're huge. Two things should jump out at you. First, the price range is massive, right? From 15 cents all the way to $15 for the same amount of input. But second, and this is crucial, look at the output costs. The text the AI generates for you is way more expensive, often 4 times the price of what you put in. But here's the absolutely wild part. The cost of these tokens is in a complete freefall. Back in 2020, running 1 million tokens on the best model would set you back $60. Fast forward to late 2025, and a model with similar smarts will cost about 36 cents. That is a mind-blowing price drop of over 99% in 5 years. We're talking one of the fastest price collapses of any technology in history. Okay, so tokens are the currency, but where does the AI actually spend them? Well, that brings us to our next big concept, the context window. This is the AI's short-term memory, and it's the answer to that whole amnesia problem we talked about at the beginning. Let's just watch how this has evolved. Just a couple of years ago, the standard context window was about 4,000 tokens. That's around 3,000 words. You know, enough for a decent chat, but you'd hit that memory limit pretty darn fast. Then came this giant leap, 128,000 tokens. All of a sudden, you could feed an entire book, like, say, The Great Gatsby, into the AI, and it could hold every single word in its working memory. A total game changer. And today, we now have models with context windows of 1 million tokens or even more. That is a 250 times increase in just a few years. It's enough to process almost a dozen novels, all at once. But, and this is a really big but, bigger isn't always better. Yeah, having a massive context window is incredibly powerful, but it comes with some serious trade-offs. It costs more because you're paying for all those tokens. It's slower because the AI has more to think about. And, fascinatingly, studies show that models can sometimes forget or miss information that's buried deep in the middle of a very, very long document. So we've covered the currency, which is tokens, and the memory, the context window. Now let's talk about the brain itself, parameters. This is the big number you always hear about in the headlines, and it's basically a rough measure of a model's raw intelligence. Put simply, parameters are the millions, billions, or even trillions of little adjustable knobs that the model learned during its training. They're the connections in its massive neural network. All of its knowledge, from how grammar works to how to reason about a problem, is encoded in these parameters. This is its permanent, long-term knowledge. And the sheer scale of this brain has just grown exponentially. I mean, just look at this chart. In 2019, GPT-2 had 1.5 billion parameters. Seemed like a lot. A year later, GPT-3 came along with 175 billion. And by 2023, GPT-4 was estimated to have around 1.8 trillion. It's this insane jump in scale that led to all the amazing new abilities we're seeing, like writing code or solving really complex problems. Okay, now it's time to bring it all together. Because you can't just pick the model with the most parameters and the biggest context window and call it a day. In the world of AI, you're always making a choice, a fundamental compromise. And the best way to understand this compromise is with what I call the trade-off triangle. You've got three corners: quality, which is mostly about parameters; speed, which is affected by both context and parameters; and cost, driven by tokens and context. The rule is simple. You can usually get 2 out of 3. Want it fast and high quality? It's going to be expensive. Want it cheap and high quality? Okay, but it's going to be slow. Getting all 3 is the holy grail everyone's chasing. So how do you actually choose? Simple. You match the model to the task. If you're just having a quick chat or doing a simple task, a fast, cheap model like GPT-4o Mini is perfect. But if you're analyzing a huge legal document, you absolutely need Gemini 3 Pro and its massive context window. And for those times when you need the absolute maximum brainpower for a complex problem, you might just have to pay the premium for a top-tier model. It's all about using the right tool for the right job. So with all of that in your back pocket, let's just boil this all down into a quick and dirty guide you can use to make the right choice every single time. So here it is, a little cheat sheet. If you need something cheap and fast, you're going to look at Gemini Flash or GPT-4o Mini. For the best all-around balance of price and performance, Claude Sonnet and GPT-4o are fantastic choices. Need the absolute best model for writing code? That's Claude Opus, hands down. Longest context window? Gemini Pro. Need maximum power and don't care about the cost? Go for a model like Ometry Pro. And hey, if you want something that's free and totally private, you can always run a model like Llama 4 right on your own computer. And that brings us to the final and maybe most important thought. We've seen that the cost of raw AI intelligence is collapsing. The insane capabilities of today's most powerful and expensive models, they're going to be available for pennies on the dollar, probably within a year or 2. So the real question is no longer, can we do this? It's what will we do with it? So I'll just leave you with this to think about. When today's frontier AI becomes as cheap as a commodity, what are you going to build?